Alright, this is Vol, and it's time to get back into some Warhammer Fantasy battles. Had a game today against the Skaven, and this was my first ever game against Skaven and Warhammer. I've never ever played against them before, not in my childhood, back when I used to play with High Elves, and not in 7th edition either, so it was a real treat to have a first game against these guys. Here you can see my Tomb King's deployed on the left-hand side of the battle, on the photo, left-hand side of the photo rather. And it started to become a bit of a familiar sight. We go through them, there's a Scorpion there, there's the Carrion behind the Scorpion, we've got the Tomb Guard and the melee skeletons in the front there. Hierophant's in with the melee skeleton unit. The King is actually back with, no, the King's, where did I put the King? Can't remember, we'll find out in a later photo, but we've got the Archers in the middle, Chariots in the flank, and of course the ominous Casket and Catapult on the hill. Switching to the next shot, you can sort of see a better overview here. Of just where everything is in relation to each other. Pretty standard stuff. Infantry on one flank, cavalry on the other. The only notable thing is that I've actually got both Scorpions deployed rather than tunneling, and I'm only tunneling with the Swarm. So that's the only real thing that I'm doing differently with this particular opening. So let's go to the next photo straight away. Getting through the photos quickly already. You can see the Skaven deploying. So I'm just going to go from bottom to top. So on the far left-hand flank, we've got the Knight Runners skirmishing over there. The Jezzails are on the hill, all 7 of them there. Unfortunately, the models aren't quite complete with the Purveyors shields, but we know that the Jezzails on the hill. There's 3 units of slaves in front of the 3 units of clan rats. That's what you can see in the picture there. The middle clan rat unit is very large. It has a screaming bell on it with a grey seer, level 4 grey seer, and there's an engineer in each of the 2 other clan rat units. Now, in that forest, there are 2 very nasty warp lightning cannons, and they're out to get me. I really love the fact that he's deployed them in the forest, because that means that I can't get my flyers onto them, and I can't shoot back at him. He's actually able to shoot through terrain with the cannons, which is amazing, and the only way I'm going to be able to take those cannons out is by tunneling the Swarm there, and in fact, that's where I'm tunneling it. And on the far right, he's got another unit of Jezzails past that unit of slaves far over to the right there. So I'm just going to zoom in with a little bit of a better picture, just so you can see what's going on here. By the way, Skaven do actually win the first turn. So this is their setup before they start moving out. Very large numbers of clan rats, as you can see here, but that's what Warhammer's all about. Big units having scraps in the middle of the battlefield. Well, as we know, that's not really what Warhammer's about, but it's what Warhammer ought to be about. So let's move on to the next photo. We can see the opening turn. Skaven, turn 1, moving out. 3 units of clan rats, 20 guys each. Luckily for me, they don't have fanatics in them. That's orcs and goblins, so I'm breathing a sigh of relief that I don't have to deal with that. Unfortunately, some things that I do have to deal with is some nasty shooting in the form of 14 Jezzails, 7 on the left, 7 on the right. Note that there's a unit of Night Runners next to the lightning cannons there. He's put them there, I guess, to try and deal with the swarms after they show up. But interestingly, my opponent has decided to keep his big units of clan rats back during the first turn, didn't move them, and didn't really know what his plan was there, but we'll find out a little bit later on. It turned out when his magic phase opened up, he was out of range for all of his warp lightning, as we both expected. And the magic phase was very quiet, but when the shooting phase came around, the screaming bell started ringing, and rolled a 13, which is very bad because that counts as the general dying, and the rules in the FAQ say that if you're playing against undead, particularly Tomb Kings, it counts as the death of the Hierophant. So I rolled for every unit on the table. I came off pretty light actually, but lost a whole Scorpion to that attack. Whole Scorpion down the drain just from a screaming bell ringing out in the first turn, so that sucked. I really should have tunneled the Scorpions in hindsight, but at least got that out of the way. The Warp Lightning Cannons turned out to be out of range. Their average range is 24, and he was out of range for that. So let's go to the next photo. You can see in a bit more detail where the Night Runners are moving over this side here. They're just charging to the forest, hanging out there, waiting for units to come in range so they can charge, and the Jezzails are popping off some shots. Jezzails cracked off at the Carrion and killed one of them, and that was about it for the Skaven opening. So, Tomb King's response. Tomb King's turn 1, the Carrion move out, getting in range to get some charges off there to try and charge the Jezzails on the hill. Unfortunately for me, I've already lost the Carrion, and chances are they're going to blow me away with some return fire, and there's 7 of them. They've got a hill bonus, so it's going to be very hard to beat them in combat with the Carrion. So I didn't really get anything happening there. Going to go to the next photo. We can see the King was previously deployed with the Archers, but I chucked him back into the Catapult crew. The reason why is that he's actually got both units of gutter runners tunneling. It's the first time I've actually faced an opponent who was tunneling against me, using my own trick against me, and tunneling on the hill next to my casket and catapult. Now this could potentially have been awful, so I've brought the king back to defend the catapult crew. I've got the scorpion actually sitting his ass down on top of where the gutter runners like markers are. The markers for the gutter runners showing up are directly underneath the scorpion. So that's the plan to deal with them. Next photo, you can see my plan over the left-hand side, just moving the chariots in. I've already taken a couple of wounds. You can see my little copper coins there next to one of there's two of them, in fact, stacked on top of each other on top of that chariot unit. Prince's chariot unit has actually lost a whole chariot plus 2 wounds on another chariot. That's from warp lightning hits and Jezzails and all sorts. Just devastating me there. So really keen to get into combat as soon as I can, but I've got to get through the slaves first. Next picture, the gutter runners show up and they scatter in a perfect location for the Skaven. Perfect location meaning they don't actually land on the scorpion, so the scorpion can't attack them, and obviously they've got an opportunity to charge the casket at this point. But it's my lucky day because they failed their terror test and ran straight off the board, and the other unit of gutter runners, there's another lot of 5, also showed up, and they scattered off the board, like totally off the table, so managed to totally rid myself of having to deal with the gutter runners straight up, and yeah, that was pretty good. By the way, Tomb King's turn 1. We're now on Skaven turn 2, but before this photo occurred, fired the catapult, misfired, and blew itself up. So bad luck on both sides of the board so far. Screamer Skull catapult gone after the first shot, unbelievably, but my opponent losing both units of tunnelers straight away. And really, this is turning to be crazy. And a 13 in the Screamer Skull catapult. It's just like totally horrific luck for everybody this game, and it's been very, very brutal so far. Next picture, you can see the Screamer Skull catapult there. Just a few points about it. He's taken the item that gives on a roll of a 2+, gives him an extra power dice, and takes one away if he gets a 1. He's also spread out Dispel Scrolls, 3 of them in fact, between his 2 engineers, sorry. And so he's got 6 Dispel dice and 3 scrolls up his sleeve. But he's keeping this unit at the back, ominously, just to ring up with the bell the whole time. His plan's mainly been to rely on the gutter runners, warp lightning cannons, and the bell, which haven't been performing too well in the first half of the game. The cannon's been misfiring during the second turn, and without killing anything, but mind you. And the gutter runners running away, and the bell, although killing a scorpion, not really succeeding in doing anything in the second turn. All right, so let's have a look at the devastation here. The swarm hasn't shown up yet in the cannons, but the cannons are already starting to blow themselves away. Not actually killing themselves, mind you, rolling that 3 to 4 result on the chart, and causing a strength D6 hit on units within the template. Not killing anything, but at least I'm not being shot to bits by the cannons themselves. Next picture, the other cannon misfires and rolls like a 5, which means that the cannon spins around and then fires off a strength 10 blast at maximum range or whatever it is. Or you might have to roll a range, I can't remember how it works, but this is the direction it shot in, and just sniped like 3 Tomb Guard or whatever it was by just zapping in between the 2 Clan Rat units and firing off like that. So it's been a very entertaining game, enjoying my first time against Skaven, but hopefully there won't be too much more of this blasting on my side of the field with cannons. Next picture, it's Tomb King's turn 2. The swarm has shown up, but it's shown up in the bottom right corner of the battlefield because I misfired it, and my opponent I rolled a 5 for it, and my opponent brought the swarm up in a random corner. So that sucked. As you can see, the catapult's missing because I misfired it. The chariots have both charged their way into slaves and expecting to crush the slaves and getting to move on to attacking the rest of his army in the later turns. The carrion has been shot to bits. There's only a single carrion left with 1 wound, so it charged the engineer and the big clan rats unit at the back. I didn't want to charge the Jezzails because they were buffed with like Death Frenzy spell, and they're on a hill, and I wasn't going to make them flee anyway, so just thought I'd try and take a wound off an engineer. That way he might actually take the other wound with casts of Warp Lightning, for example. Hope that makes sense, and you can see a nice overview of the battlefield here, so hope you're enjoying this picture. Going to go to the next picture, though, where you can see a bit of a better overview of the left-hand side, where the chariots are in combat with the slaves, getting plenty of damage done. The slaves definitely not holding from these combats. In fact, I'm going to go to the next picture to show you what happens. And this was a huge blunder by me. I don't think I've made a mistake this bad in Warhammer since FluffyCon, really. I destroyed both units of slaves and then decided to pursue with both units of chariots. And that was a really, really foolish thing to do. And my reasoning for it was that I didn't want to give him another turn of shooting at my chariots before I could inflict any more damage. I was really paranoid about the Warp Lightning Cannon